Namo Buddhaya, Namaste. I'm at the Mahabodhi Society, Bangalore today. As you know, I travelled here last night for the Uposatha, the new moon of December, and I'll return this evening back to my West Coast Forest Mountain retreat. And I've today learnt that I've been invited to Udupi in the next couple of days, on the 25th, 26th, I think, for a meditation to take a meditation retreat, something like this maybe. I'm not sure on the arrangements yet, but I'll keep you informed and hopefully you can come along with me. I will make a video of whatever we talk about, and maybe there will be some guided meditation and some new scenery to look at along the way. I've had a question from Bhavani, and Bhavani, I think you're from India. Your name crops up quite a lot in these circles. I've heard it on other Dharma channels. You are wondering, how can you practice Samadhi with disturbances from ants, scorpions, snakes, mosquito, insects, etc.? Yes, good question, and if you're living in India and you're practicing Bhavani, then you're experiencing all of these things in your meditation. But far worse than that, what we experience in our meditation are the 5 hindrances of sensual desire, wanting something to satisfy our senses, ill will, so an aversion to something, and this could be towards those seemingly preying insects, creatures, sloth and torpor, or simply put, tiredness, lack of enthusiasm, lack of energy, lethargy, restlessness and worry, which is more about an anxiety about what's going to happen in the future, what you may have done in the past, and wanting to get it done and over with. This is restlessness and worry. Or doubt, simply doubt about what you're doing and why you're doing it. These are our 5 hindrances. Now, insects, creatures, animals, how do you practice Samadhi with their disturbances? The first thing to remember is we are disturbing them. They're not disturbing us. More often than not, they were there before us. And this is where we must develop metta. Deep within ourselves, metta to all beings. Sabbe sata sukhi hotu. May all beings be happy, may all beings be well. Now, this isn't just a thing we say, it is a thing we mean and a thing we understand. And this, along with sila, keeping the 5 precepts, which in summary, all 5 are to do no harm to either yourself or any other beings. You are giving fearlessness, no cause for any concern for those other beings. So with the combination of metta and sila, more often than not, in my experience, these creatures won't bother you. Now, maybe the larger animals, snakes, scorpions, even leopards or black bears, and often dogs, foxes, stray, wild, whatever their background, they can be of a disturbance. But if you are living this life of sila and metta, they do not fear you. They also don't think you are trying to take from them their territory. Now, of course, I don't know how these animals, these creatures think, but since adopting this practice, my experience of living in the wild, in the countryside, or in the forest, or in the jungle, or on a mountain, has been far less disturbed by any of those larger animals. Now, of course, the little ants and the mosquitoes and not so astute, but they will buzz around and they will take their little bit of blood, the mosquitoes. Or the ants, they may give you a little nip, which you can have a reaction to. And in yesterday's talk, I was nipped a couple of times by these little red ants, or this colour ants. I think I've had a kind of a pill, some pills which seems to stop that reaction. That was a long time ago now. And maybe your body just gets used to that, those bites. But when I was first here, I did have quite a lot of swelling as a result of just one little bite. So I did have a bit of an aversion when I was first meditating. Thought, oh, don't meditate near these ants. But I had to get used to it. I had no choice. And now they don't bother me so much. And I find leaving them alone, even if they crawl on you, they don't bite. It's only when you accidentally rub against them and they feel threatened. Mosquitoes, they are going to have their lunch. They are going to have their dinner. And they may start off in the morning with breakfast of your blood. But that's all they're doing. Now this is more an irritant. It's irritating, it's annoying. And that comes under ill will, this second hindrance of ill will. And this, in fact, is something you can get used to. I've had to, and I am used to it. However, the hindrances, including disturbances from all beings, all creatures, including humans. Humans can be very much a disturbance in meditation. They will walk by, stand, stare, maybe interrupt. Hey, what are you doing? Hi, what a nice day. This is just as much of a disturbance if you are to pay attention, and often you have to, you need to. It's only acceptable to acknowledge someone if you're meditating in a busy place, for instance. But again, mostly, even humans, if they see you are in meditation, they won't disturb you. Which brings me on to, you say, samadhi. How can you, and I assume you mean generally, you, but me, personally, if you're in samadhi, if you're in upacharya samadhi, the hindrances are dropped. You do not suffer from the 5 hindrances, including these disturbances. So you may still hear sound, you may still see the sight of these animals or whatever, and you may still feel the mosquitoes take blood, and the ants pinch, or whatever they do. But your reaction will be equanimous to it, because in essence, the aspect of sensual desire, so wanting something you haven't got, or ill will, not wanting something you have got, for instance, a mosquito buzzing around, has been dropped, let go of. Why? Because you've developed wisdom that tells you, makes you understand these are only impermanent feelings, impermanent discomforts that will pass, will go away. Without these hindrances, so in samadhi, these insects, these problems are not a problem. They're not noticeable. You won't notice them. Along with the hindrances, you won't notice them. Now, as far as more worrisome things, let's say, poisonous creatures like scorpions or snakes, or even leopards or black bears, again, with fearlessness, they have no worries you're taking anything from them, you're not going to hurt them. They leave you alone. And metta helps with this. So, if you're practicing sila, you're practicing samadhi, these things aren't a problem. So again, the answer to this question is with this practice of sila and samadhi, and you can include metta in this, then these disturbances will not be disturbances. The obstacles they create are self-created. I can't meditate here because a mosquito's buzzing. It's biting. Now take the mosquito bite. Does it really hurt? Not really. It's very annoying. Now, if you brush a mosquito away, what happens is, it first, when it puts its little probe in, it injects this thinner blood coagulant into your blood, so that your blood doesn't do its automatic natural clotting thing as it sucks the blood up. Otherwise it would clot up this sucker and the sucker would get blocked. So it squirts in this chemical which thins the blood, equivalent of warfarin in nature. So it thins the blood, stops it clotting, sucks the blood up, and then when it's full, it's finished its breakfast, its lunch or its dinner, it flies off on its merry way, content, happy, and full of metta for you for having fed it, and full of gratefulness. But what it takes with it is the chemical it's injected in. So if you let the mosquito finish its lunch, it won't leave an itch. And it is the scratch, the itch afterwards, that bothers us. Now appreciably, the little noise in your ear zzz, is very, very irritating. But use this. Observe it. Let it be your teacher. Ants, mosquitoes, cockroaches are a thing in my kuti, and I don't think they do any harm, cockroaches, whatsoever, as far as I'm aware. I've never been bitten, I've touched them even, and nothing's happened. But I find them quite abhorrent, and the thought of them crawling on me makes me feel uneasy. But I know this is just a part of ill will, aversion, one of the hindrances, and you have to bear with it. This is the practice. So we let all of these things be our teachers. We practice khanti, patience, and endurance. We bear with, we endure. This isn't an ascetic practice of suffering. Try it. Let a mosquito, when it next lands on your hand, it's not going to kill you just to watch, observe. Not in meditation, just as a test. Let it finish its lunch. Try not to move. Stay very still. The slightest movement and it will fly away. Let your hands, leave it on the table. Let it land, take some blood, and fly away. I promise you, there'll be no itch, you will have not even an urge to scratch. It takes that chemical, the poison, away with it. And this is a fact. And I was taught this, and subsequently I've not had the aversion to the mosquitoes biting me. Because if I allow them to, I know they fly away, well fed. You've got plenty of blood to go around, many, many mosquitoes. It's not like you're giving them a pint every time, it's the most microscopic amount. And they fly away, and you don't have a problem. Now, it does take some practice, it's not an instant thing, like everything on this path. It's a gradual process. So 2, 3, 4 mosquitoes, all having lunch, having a dinner party, you're going to have to move, you're going to get fed up. I can actually sit through quite a few mosquitoes enjoying their meals now, because I have the confidence, the faith, the saddha. It's not a religious thing, it's confidence in the knowledge that if you don't disturb that meal, you won't have an itch. Now your body moves naturally, so without your control. So sometimes they will fly off and you will have a scratch. That's why I say put your hand flat on the table so it can't move and see what happens. And I promise you, you won't have a scratch, an itch. So, in summary, how do we deal with these disturbances of insects? If it's fear, the more dangerous kind of animals which could do you harm, then when we firstly try to avoid being meditating in those situations, unless you have a lot of confidence in your practice and your samadhi, because in samadhi you will not be disturbed by those creatures because they know you're at peace. In samadhi, even human beings will see that and they won't disturb you. They'll have a sense, they have a second sense that they know you're not to be disturbed. If you're sitting there fidgeting, looking around like that, they're going to say hello, are you okay? Good morning, good afternoon. But if you're deep in samadhi, very shallow breath, people generally leave you alone. I've sat in some very busy places here and other places whilst travelling, and people haven't disturbed me. I have come round and seen people standing there just looking, maybe, and thinking, what's that oddball doing? But they won't interrupt. They know you are elsewhere from their point of view. Of course you're not. You're very much here in the present moment, but undisturbed by these disturbances, unaffected by whatever they may do to you. But there are only a very few things that are bothersome, and those in samadhi are not noticeable. The hindrances, which are not external, they're from us, they're internal, self-generated, mind-generated, thinking brain generated. Now those are very difficult to even get to samadhi with those obstacles in the way. But understanding the 5 hindrances, and also knowing that is only those 5 hindrances, there's nothing else that are getting in the way of your samadhi. You can deal with them one by one, knocking them off if you like, ticking them off your checklist until they no longer get in your way. They'll still crop up, but you'll say, hello, I know you, hindrance, your ill will, you're just that. And sloth, your tiredness, you're just that. I'm not tired, I slept well last night. I didn't, I was on the bus all night, 12 hours, but 12 and a half hours. But I meditated on the bus, it was noisy, but not so much noisy once people dozed off, but a bit of snoring, and I have to have the windows open, I like some fresh air, and bumpy. So not a place to develop samadhi, but you can get into a very relaxed, unbothered state. Not quite asleep, but it's quite restful. So I'm not feeling tired today, and I have the same journey return tonight. But this is something I've got used to. And it is only even on those circumstances, hindrances, that will disturb me. So aversion to someone sitting next to me, or someone not sitting next to me, or wanting something to drink and not being able to have something to drink because the bus isn't stopping for a long time, and thirst or something like this. These hindrances are arising as they affect us in everyday life and our meditation, as do these insects and animals in everyday life as they do in meditation. So it's just one more thing, and try it with the mosquito and you'll see, and it'll give you so much more, so much a better feeling towards them, because they can be irritating, a nuisance. But they are often considered by monks practicing in forests and jungles as teachers. And there's a famous Ajahn Chah story, I think, of Dharma talk, maybe one of his disciples, and they refer to the mosquitoes as Ajahn mosquito, because they are great teachers of ours. I've got one biting me on the neck right now. I don't know whether it's in the camera shot. If it is, it knows we're talking about it. I'm not going to point to it because it will disturb it. It's on my right, so where my shoulder is, there's a mosquito halfway down my neck. And I'm going to allow him, her, whatever it may be, gender-wise, to finish its lunch and not disturb it. So I'm not then, through our recitation or listening to the recitation of the 227 Bhikkhu rules, I'm not itching my neck because I have this poison left in there. I'll be relaxed and attentive and mindful to the recitation. And that will put me in a good frame of mind for continuing my practice back in my meditation place, my forest, my mountain there, and ready for going to Udupi. No, I wasn't going to say the name of the place, but wherever I'm going in a couple of days' time, 25th, Christmas Day I think that is, so if that's when I'm going. And there I'll be, I don't know whether I'm taking a meditation retreat for a couple of days or I'm just talking to them about it, but I will include you on the trip and continue to look at your questions, and if I can answer them I'll try my best to give you my ideas. Bhavani, thank you for your question once again. It's a useful question because it affects everybody, and that's what's useful about this. And my answers are not always the only answer. As Bhavani knows, you get many answers to the same question. So this is useful practice. And you use your own practice to determine what works for you. But it's always Sila, Samadhi, Panya. I think the mosquito's still there, unless I'm just imagining it, and I will end my slightly shorter talk today here, because I have a few things to do whilst I'm here in Mahabodhi Society, and then we have the Patimokkha, and I will speak to you again very soon. So, Sukhi Hotu, Sukhi Hotu, Sukhi Hotu, Namo Buddhaya.